and welcome everyone to the Monster Academy newsletter for October-September edition. That's right, this time we are doing a dual newsletter, so it will be a bit longer and have more blogs and more papers and tech notes to be introduced. And yes, I will be replacing Sean from now on and introducing all the flashes and notes from the months. So moving on and starting from the best blogs of the month. There have been quite a few, but we've cherry-picked I think around 8 of them with Sean for you. So let's begin with this beautiful looking one right here. So let's start off with this beautiful image of Catalonia right here in a blog written by my colleague Whale. Blog's title is ITM Monitoring Mix and Match Migration, where he speaks about customers changing their OS platforms and wanting to run different versions of ITM monitoring on different platforms. He then gives step-by-step instructions on how to review the ITM environment situations and make modifications to upgrade the environment. So if you see here, step 1, export all situations, both custom and ITM provided. Do steps from A to G, as you can see in here. And then following to step 2, export all navigator views and associated situations, and again just follow A to G, and repeat these all for the navigator views. And once again at the very end, do not forget to restart your TEMs and TEPs after that, because the changes will not take place. That's a very important step. Again, not sure what the picture had to do with the blog, but surely it caught our attention, and it's a really pleasant start to our newsletter. Right, so moving on, we have my colleague Eric's blog, who talks about the APM response time agent's configuration settings. So this blog's aim is to answer the question how to reconfigure the IBM APM response time agent on a specific OS. This blog addresses Windows, to be precise. However, what I really like about this blog is that it has step-by-step pictures showing the step view along the way, which is awesome, as it's much easier to follow than text. It's even more thrilling that at the very end you find out that all of these steps were what you should not use if you want to configure your response time agent correctly. So there's a very helpful link at the very bottom showing how to do it properly for the Linux or AIX or even Windows machines, which is, I think, a very witty way to write a blog, and it's very interesting to read it in such an unexpected way. Moving on. Alright, so the third blog right here is by another colleague of mine called John Round, and this blog talks about APM performance issues despite passing the prerequisite checks. This one talks about APM installation problems. There's a prerequisite scanner running automatically during installation, and despite returning the correct results, there might still be issues. So here you can see successful logs of the prerequisite scanner. However, if there are problems later on, which might be, you are advised to run collectlogs.sh and see what has changed that affected your performance. This is a very interesting problem that John spotted right here. Right, so moving on, and we approach Sandra's blog titled Monitoring Musings as her trademark. And this blog talks about the limit on the TEPS API link of 10,000 rows. It addresses the fact that TEPS API interface is not designed to handle large amounts of data, so it will only show a limit of default 10,000 rows. It does, however, have its workarounds, like introducing a condition filter, and of course you can, after all, try to increase the limit using an environment variable, but that requires some careful testing. And I think this is a very important thing to address. Seems very simplistic, however, a lot of people might have doubts about this one. Right. Another very nice blog by Sandra that we cherry-picked for you is called All Data at Agent Not Inserted to Warehouse Partitions. The blog addresses the issue of inserting agent data that is outside of defined data partition ranges, which occurs just because of that. Data is outside of the range. It addresses a specific case, however, where this was only happening for one agent type, and it turns out that the data was not too large to input, but one particular attribute field was not being saved correctly, so it had loads of historical data collected that had not been put in the warehouse. However, if this is not happening for a specific agent that is mentioned here, there are useful links to check to make sure you have your partition configurations correct, so the data gets saved correctly. I think the link is right here. So moving on to, I believe, the 6th blog today, written by Sushama Kulkarni, and it's called ITM SAP agent is causing specific knowledge messages in the system logs. And what the blog is talking about is the SAP agent wreaking havoc and causing failure messages to pop up in system logs. So it seems that the cause of it was a fixback, 711 fixback 2 to be precise, where a new feature makes the SAP agent log its exceptions and write log entries into the SAP system logs. So if no real issues are to be seen in your system, you may just ignore the errors thrown, as they are purely for troubleshooting. However, if they do seem problematic and if you do want to turn the errors off so they wouldn't show up in your logs, there's also a step-by-step guide on how to do it right here. Right, continuing, we see another very useful blog made by, again, Sushama Kulkarni. Thank you very much. Which is called ITCAM MQ agent shows 0 values for messages put per second, messages read per second, and so on. Quite a lengthy blog, this one, and as you can see, there's brilliant illustrations, and in this one precisely you can see that 0 values can be seen for all of these fields ordered in blue. They shouldn't be. So it seems that Sushama's findings were that you have to manually configure the monitoring agent to collect that data, because by default the collection of these particular attributes is disabled, hence you see the 0 values, so it's not an error. There's a step-by-step guide on how to do it at the bottom, and you also, on the important notes, it explains why you might still be seeing 0 values after all of this reconfiguration. And you may also see some tips for testing right here, where you can test all of these new configurations on Windows or Linux, along with some very useful reference links. So this was a very useful and unexpected finding by Sushama. That it's not actually erroneous behavior, it's just how it is by default, and you have to configure your agent if you want it to show something else but 0. So the 8th blog for today is a blog written by Aldo Buccosi, an engineer in the Italian team. So this one addresses monitoring, creating alerts for stale files, which might indicate malfunctions in a dynamic environment. So he tells you how to do it. So this can be done using the Windows OS agent and the file trend. Here, the file trend attribute, and this sort of way of doing it would only be useful for monitoring single files that you know the name of. The blog then goes on to introduce multiple ways that you can do this differently in case you want to monitor multiple files and if you don't know their names, which might be the case in many situations. So you can use the scripting feature to do so, or something like this neat PowerShell script that I think Aldo made for you guys. So to do the specific task. So yeah, with that script, you can retrieve files from a directory, and then the output data can be shown on tap. So I think this one is a very useful one, and it provides multiple ways of achieving the same kind of behavior that you want to achieve in different sort of scenarios. And this neat PowerShell script is really what impresses me the most. Right, so we're moving to the 9th blog of this newsletter, and it's written by Valerio Marullo, addressing interferences between Oracle and ITM Java due to large pages. So the Oracle engine can use huge pages, and ITM components do not request allocation of huge pages. However, the embedded JRE component can request 2 meg memory pages and potentially cause issues with the Oracle database. So this can be overcome by forcing the page size on the ITM JRE environment. There's a step-by-step guide on what to change and where to find it, very detailed and kept very simple and concise. There's also some tips that Valerio points out at the end, mentioning that this file will not be modified by reconfiguration, but may be replaced by an upgrade or a fixed installation. So he recommends keeping a backup copy. So here we have a very nice and concise blog by Russell, explaining how to change the reporting rules for the RT response transaction agent. It goes on by explaining where the rules are defined, how they can be modified, showing default configurations, and showing which values can be edited. Of course, at the end, you are prompted to restart the T5 agent in order for the rules to be actually implemented. And this is a really nice, well-structured and concise blog, and would be useful to many of our clients. So one of our last blogs of the day is again my colleague Eric's blog with very nice images, as is the previous one that we had. So this blog answers the question on how to report HTTP web server transactions returning HTTP error codes, and do so using IBM APM version 8. The blog post is pretty self-explanatory, as there are step-by-step pictures attached. One option to do so is install that RT agent included in the APM v8, and then once you do that, as the pictures very clearly show, you choose the correct settings to report your selected error codes. So I think this blog is very useful, as I really do appreciate the picture blogs, because they basically show you what to do and what to expect on each step that you're taking. So not many questions are left after you follow them. So the last blog for today, before we move on to the APAR section, is by Aldo Bucossi, talking about authentication failure using the ASI, or in other words, Agent Service Interface. So upon entering your username and password, you would get an error code status of 20853883111. After setting traces and some further analysis, it will be visible that there was a problem with opening the -etc-shadow file with encrypted user's password. So it turns out the permission denied error was sent due to wrong permission bits set, and the owner configured to have access was a non-root user, so could not access the encrypted file. In order to solve all of this, there are 3 steps Aldo suggests, after which you should have the root admin rights and correct permission bits set, so the file will be able to be accessed by the user. And that's it for today, for our blog section. So, welcome to the APAR section. You've made it this far. Congratulations. So, the first APAR of the day is called Error Loading Unix OS Reports Due to Missing Column in Aggregated Disk Tables and Views. Seems like a TCR error to me. So the problem was that the affected environments were the Unix OS agent and the UX, and the problem description was that the changes in Fixback 7 messed up with the tables, since a primary key has been added to one column in the table. The lat mount point u column wouldn't be created in all the aggregated disk tables in use by the summarization pruning agent, which is very unexpected. The symptoms and diagnostics were that, well, the OS agent report was failing, and there was an error being reported with status -69. However, this APAR does have a local fix with a note here that the use of a local fix may result in a loss of historical data when dropping aggregate summary tables in use, so it's necessary to have that in mind. It also has a nice 7-step plan on how to solve this: to edit specific directory, stop the KSY agent, stop, drop some tables, edit, start. It's a very nice step-by-step guide on how to solve it, so it's not everything is lost. So yeah, the problem summary is that the reports have been updated to account for the change in the primary key. So really all of this was caused just because in the Fixback 7, I believe the primary key was introduced to the table, and that messed up very badly the whole table itself, and a column couldn't be added. So all of this was caused. So here we are describing the second APAR of this newsletter, and it's called Set Agent Connection Does Not Update Multiple Instances. And this one is very specific. It's concerning the Windows OS agent like the previous APAR. However, this is not a problem of the Fixback 7. So the problem occurs when you execute the set agent connection command. There are multiple other sort of settings that you have to have for these problems to occur. And there's also a detailed recreation procedure included where you can check whether your environment also is affected by this. And the problem summary of this APAR and why this happens is that if an agent's instance owner name is of the format in NT space authority, which includes a space character, like I've said, between the words NT and authority, as displayed by the KNINCinfo-O output, the the problem will not occur. However, in any other cases, the problem will occur, and you have to check whether your environment, in your environment, this problem is also occurring. So there's not really any fix for this. It's just that you have to configure your agent instance's owner name correctly. So moving on to the third A part of today, called TACMD list systems command fails to return list of systems. Well, the error description is as it is, that if there are more than 200 universal agents connected to a single RTMs, the list of them will not be returned. And the local fix is just to decrease the number of universal agents connected to the remote temps. And this sort of limitation will not be fixed, and it is not fixed. And the list systems command, as you see here, supports a maximum output of 201 universal agents and their subnodes. And as it says here, and like I've said, this limitation will not be removed. So the recommendation for users is to use the agent builder, and the users should consider replacing their custom agents and using the existing agents, and that's how you wouldn't face any restrictions, unlike using the universal agents. So this API does not have any fix per se. However, it's quite useful to know that this is just the way it is programmed, and there is a way to to list more than 200 agents. However, you would have to use the already existing agents and not your custom ones. So another API for today is called wrong sorting for numeric JDBC data in TEP, and that's the problem. It only does not work for custom agents, it seems. An environment is the agent builder 6.3.5. So the problem is, like the title explains, when the data is returned into TEP, sorting does not work correctly, and it's failing for both 32 and 64-bit integers. Here you can see there's a detailed recreation procedure where you can check if the same problem is occurring for you. And a local fix is quite a simple one. You just need to add one little line to a specific XML file and rebuild the agent and re-add the application support. Really like APIs like these where the problem is quite clear and quite potent, but the fix is a very simple one. So moving on. Right, so moving on. The fifth API we have for today is called enabling the advanced filter option in the workspace results in left-right button gray screen in view. So what we have in this API is that it is what it says that it is. Workspace view is corrupted if the advanced filter option is enabled with number of columns displayed modified. So here you can see how to recreate this issue and what the error is in detail. And the local fix is as it is. If you do not want to get the problem, you should not be using the advanced filter. Another API for today is the disable HTTP settings not preserved. The environment in which this occurs is the ITM version 6.3, and problem description is really quite simple, that if the disable HTTP with any value is not provided in the response file, the value will not be used. The value will always default to no, and ignore any sort of default settings you have on the agent. If you have a value provided in the response file, that value will be used. And there's no actual fix for this problem. Is just to let you know that this is happening and to be aware of this. And in order to recreate this, you just have to upgrade your NT agents from version 0.2 to version 0.7, and you will notice this behavior and be aware that this does happen. Right, so APAR number 7 today is called Help Temps Crash when the TACMD execute command with -c empty string specified. So the problem is that if the user specifies a command string that is an empty string, the hub will crash. And what actually happens is that the CLI does not send the end command request to the hub. However, it still does send a request to the hub to audit the command, so the parameters it sends should include something. It cannot be an empty string because the hub does not tolerate missing parameters, and they in the end end up being with a null pointer, which it attempts to use. However, there's nothing specified, so the hub just crashes. So a local fix to it would be just to not send an execute command with like no parameters. So you must enter something after that -c if you want your desired output. Otherwise, your hub will crash. So that's the way to go around this problem. So the number 8 APAR for today is called the Windows installer will not update an agent that is already at the current level. And the error description is as it is as a title, that the Windows installer will not update the agent if it is already at the current level. However, this APAR status is still open, and it says that it's probably working on a change that will add a -update option to the setup XC, which will force the update of an agent when it is seen as being at the current level. So I am assuming that this will be used as a workaround to this problem and as a way to force your agent to update itself, even if it is seen as, you know, as it is at the current level. So moving on to the last APAR for today, quite obvious one. It is called ITM Windows Installer does not work for a path over 2047. So the error description is that whenever you try to install an ITM 6 point whatever component on a system where the path exceeds 2047, the installation will fail. And there is no real workaround or official fix to this other than just set your path smaller than 2047 if you want the installation to work. So that is it for this APAR and for the APAR section for today. So thank you all for listening, and now we'll be moving on to the TechNote flashes. And see you there. So welcome to the TechNote section of the newsletter, and this is the last section, and we're seeing the first TechNote that I'm going to discuss today, and its title is JazzSM widgets encounter an error when attempting to gather data from the data provider at the temps. And the problem is, as you can see, an error seen in the JazzSM dashboard, and here you can see some more logs of the error. And the cause of that is that this version of Dash, the 3.1.3 CP5 and beyond, bundles an updated version of ActiveMQ, which is not bundled with TEPS, as of this fixback right here. And it's simply that these versions of ActiveMQ are not compatible and will cause errors when the JazzSM widgets attempt to pull data from the data provider at the temps. So to resolve this problem, you would need to roll back the ActiveMQ and at the JazzSM server using a specific script which you will attain by contacting IBM support. You have to run the script, copy it to any directory on the server and make sure it has execute permissions. You have to stop Dash, run the attached script, and restart Dash. And that's how you solve it. That's how you solve the problem. So the second TechNote of today is called local install of 6.3.x. Patch fails on Windows, and when you are trying to install this patch locally on Windows, you get thrown an error like this. And the cause of it is a candle home environment variable. So to resolve the problem, there are some nice steps that you should do and you should be fine. So you need to run some commands with the command prompt, set the candle home variable, cd to the location, run, so on and so on. And if you want to read more about this, there's always a reference link that you can go and read up more about this problem. So this is really useful if you are facing some installation issues for ITM patches. This might actually solve your problem. Right, so we come to the third tech note. And here we see this really weird error saying the name of the object to be created is identical to the existing name, warehouse table, of type table. So this occurs during summarizing the warehouse data. Here you can see the symptom logs, and the cause is very interesting. It might be two summarizing pruning agents trying to summarize the same table. Here's how you can diagnose the problem, whether you actually have it yourselves. And resolving the problem, as you can see, this could be due to two summarizing and pruning agents pointing to the same warehouse database, and it may be that one agent creates partitions and then the second one comes in and tries to create the same sort of partitions. So it's like a clash, and they both crash. And yeah, you basically just have to check if there's two or even more agents pointing to the same warehouse database, and that's how you solve this error. Right, another tech note of today addresses the issue of TEP sorting some of the columns incorrectly. And it's a weird issue because some of the columns are sorted correctly and some are not. And here you can see, for example, another thing to mention is that especially agent builder agents suffer from this issue. And here you can see in the log file agent, the num records process column is sorted correctly. However, when you look at the num records not matched column, which is another column, the records are sort of randomized, and this happens sort of because the failing attributes have enumerations defined, which makes them behave like string attributes rather than integers, and this is the default behavior. Here you can see the steps where you can diagnose the problem in your system. And in order to resolve this, you need to edit the docx file and add this little line before any other option lines. And after that, you'll have to, of course, restart the TEPs, and it should solve your problem. And this problem is very similar to one of the, I believe, APARs we talked about already today, that would have this sort of fix, and we were talking about the JDBC data source in the agent builder. So it was the same sort of issue, and that APAR had the same sort of fix that is mentioned in here. So it's a sort of related issue. So yeah, apply this fix and you should be good to go. Right, this tech note is just to let you know that fixes were released to address some of the reported vulnerabilities in Tivoli monitoring. And here you can see the following patches that have been released to fix those security vulnerabilities listed in this link, I believe. So these are the links. You also have some prerequisites, and here is where you can download the fixes. And also, if you have any problems with the installation, you can always refer to the installation instructions in here. Another tech note for today is called TCP/IP connection persists after ITM agent switching back to primary temps, which is a security vulnerability. So, problem is that after the STRAP primary fallback interval elapses, an agent reconnects to the configured primary temps. However, the TCP/IP connection to the old temps also persists. And the symptom is if you run the netstat-na command on the agent, you will see that the agent connects to primary temps but also maintains the connection to the socket on the old one. However, you have it's important to mention that this only applies when the temps or the agents are prior to the fixback 6, because it was resolved with it and doesn't occur anymore. So the way to resolve the problem is to add an idle parameter to the KDC_families environment variable on the agent, and that's how you will force the idle pipe connections to be closed after summon activity. So for example, in this example, if you put idle :0, it will set the timer to 0, which will essentially let the pipe connection to persist forever. However, if you put 30 right here instead of 0, you will have a timer of 30 minutes, and after which the pipe connections will be disconnected, so you will have your security intact. You see some other examples here for any sort of configuration that you would want in your system. Right, so this tech note is a huge one where you would have to look at it yourselves, and this concerns the Windows OS agent version 6.3.0.4, and it's a download link for a fix that resolves loads of APARs and the defect listed in the problems fixed section below. So if you scroll down, we can see APARs such as, for example, the Windows OS agent becoming unresponsive and consuming high CPU, or the agent does not exclude the IPv6 resolution in the system attribute group, and leaks memory when retrieving the binary path for the processes. And if any of these, you can check these APARs, and if any of these apply to you, you can safely just follow this very nice and detailed guide on how to apply the fix and get it solved. As you can see here, the download package is here. Just click on it, get the fix, apply it, install it according to these instructions, and you're good to go. Right, so the last tech node is similar one to the one that we saw right now, and except that it's for the Linux OS agent, and this fix resolved various APARs and defects for this specific agent that is dedicated to the Linux OS as opposing to Windows. So if you scroll down here and see some errors that it's been having, for example, randomly crashing during this data collection, or randomly going and hanging during this data collection, or does not have a system to disable the monitor on CIFS file system. Any sorts of problems like these, if you're facing them, just check up here, and this might be the solution for your problems. And like in the previous tech node, we have a download link here, and installation instructions are listed here, so you shouldn't have any problems to adopt it to your own system. So this has been the Monitoring Academy newsletter for September-October edition, and it's been slightly late. However, I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope it's been useful, and the summary should provide you with an overall understanding of what has been happening in our community for this couple of months. Thank you, and take care. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching this video at the IBM Monitoring Academy. We appreciate your feedback, so please feel free to use the comments box below. We'd also love you to check the thumbs up box if you appreciated this video. We have added several helpful links to the YouTube comments box below so you can find all our other content on social media. I would definitely recommend that you check out the blogs on DevWorks. Take care.